Welcome to Animated Tops and Flops, where we dive into the best and worst episode of your favorite animated series. My name is Alyssa.
And my name is Janice. We are voice actors who love cartoons. And join us for our tour of Springfield as we continue our discussion on The Simpsons. Okay, so on this episode, we're going to be discussing our top, which is Season 9, Episode 1, rated at a 9.0, The City of New York versus Homer Simpson.
And our flop of the episode is Season 21, Episode 16, The Greatest Story Ever Doed, rated at a 5.7.
Cute name. Not a cute episode.
No, I was like, yeah, and then no. But we'll get into that later. First, let's start with our top. Janice.
Yes.
Hit us with that synopsis.
You got it. It's a longie, but we're gonna get through it. We could cut that.
No,
That was gross.
I like the word longie.
All right, so the synopsis is pretty long, but I'm going to move fast to keep it short. The episode opens up at Moe's Tavern with Moe breaking the news to his customers enforcing the designator driver policy. They draw pickled eggs, and Barney ends up with the black egg, forced to be the DD for the night. The bar gets rowdy when Duffman arrives with his crew of Duff ladies with a giant keg just for Barney, but he declines because he's DD for the night. Barney drives Lenny, Carl, and Homer drunk asses home, but disappears with Homer's car for 2 months. Cut to Homer putting up signs for his missing vehicle in front of Moe's as Barney returns in a Cadillac cab drunk as hell. As Homer is putting together a DIY vehicle back at home because Barney doesn't know where his car is, Lisa comes in with a letter addressed to Homer from NYC, which ends up being a parking violation. He rips on NYC being the worst city in the world, and we have a nice flashback montage of Homer getting robbed left and right by cops, different kinds of characters being chased by them. And the Simpsons all decide to go to NYC together to retrieve the car and make a cute little trip out of it. Upon arrival, Marge and the kids split off to sightsee while Homer goes to pick up the car, which ends up being parked between the Twin Towers. Two gentlemen who are arguing and working in the Twin Towers lead Homer to call the number on the boot, which tells Homer that a cop will be there between 9 and 5 p.m. Cut to Bart, Marge, and Lisa having taken the subway to Chinatown. Homer drinks too much crab juice at the Clavage guy's cart and runs to the bathroom at the top of Tower 2, which is closed, and has to run all the way back down and up to Tower 1. And he sees from the window at the top of Tower 1 that he is missing the cop, who then puts another ticket on his car. Homer decides to drive with the boot on his car out of the city and says, fuck it. Lisa and Marge stop to window shop while Bart pops into Mad Magazine while meeting up to, and afterwards they meet up to go to a Broadway musical, the Betty Ford Center, which, okay, side note, the music kind of slaps for it.
Yes, it does.
Whenever the Simpsons do an original music, it slaps, and I was like, I would actually see that. Plus, it kind of looks like the main character was like Charlie Sheen going to a rehab center, and I would actually see a musical about Charlie Sheen going to a rehab center.
Oh my gosh.
And the music totally slapped. So, side note. So Homer pulls over and steals a construction worker's drill to get rid of the boot, which destroys half of his car and creates bumper-to-bumper traffic. Classic New York. Homer tracks the family down on a beautiful horse and carriage ride in Central Park, and they all head back to Springfield, where the kids and Marge are begging to come back, and Homer says, never again. In his head.
Brava.
Grazie.
Prego.
That was a long one, but we did it.
It was a long one.
There's a lot in there. I mean, they cut back and forth, and it's a good episode, though. It is a good episode. It moves, you know?
It does move. I will give it that.
Yeah. Alyssa.
Yes.
Talk to us about the couch gag.
So, the couch gag. Nothing too crazy. It's The Simpsons as the Globetrotters.
Very
it is
New
cute.
York.
Nothing like, nothing like the newer seasons where they're kind of like weird and very detailed. and basically their own story, where like the older seasons are like just like little right at the beginning. Yeah, there's no chalkboard gag, and I was very disappointed by that.
Yeah.
Very much. I wanna I wanna tell you I really want to tell you about the writer, but first let's talk about the director.
Yes.
Yes.
Directors and writers.
Director Jim Reardon, who has been in our top director episodes at least 3 times by now. If you don't remember, I know. If you don't remember, Jim Reardon only ever really directed The Simpsons, but he wrote and or storyboarded Wall-E's Utopia and Wreck-It Ralph.
That just makes so much sense. So much sense. It makes so much sense because those are such quick moving stories that have a lot of like cut to, cut to, cut tos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just done so well here. I mean, he's a top tier guy.
Yeah, he's done some of the best top episodes. And I want to see all of his episodes. Like, I just kind of want to go have like a Jim Reardon day and just watch all of his episodes.
That's lovely. I would do a Jim Reardon day.
Oh, okay, we'll do that. The writer for this episode is Ian Maxtone Graham. He has only ever written The Simpsons, but he was a co-executive producer on Veep, and he wrote a lot for Saturday Night Live. And fun fact, he wrote the lyrics for Spider Pig.
Okay. Hello, music. Like that, yeah, that checks because I mean, again, whenever you got original music, it's good. It's catchy, it's fun, and it just it hits.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting was that he did not write the lyrics for the infamous Broadway song Checking In. That was I almost said Keen. That was Ken Keeler, who has done many original Simpsons songs and also many original Futurama songs.
I want him to have like a YouTube playlist where I could just listen to all of the songs. And if there are any animators or like writers, who like don't have a YouTube playlist of all of that
For the
in
love
one
of
place,
God.
please do it because
Please.
I would literally just for hours, that would be my rabbit hole and I would love you forever. Please do it.
Oh my God.
I don't have the time.
I don't have the
But
time.
you have it all somewhere, right?
Someone out there has the time.
Someone does. I mean, people out there have. I admire the dedication that some people out there have. It's absolutely fabulous to see.
They clearly don't have ADHD.
Clearly.
Clearly, they're mentally stable. Those
Clearly.
jerks. Okay, Janice, tell us about some fun facts of the episode. Do you want to start with fun facts, or do you want to start with like favorite moments?
Ooh. Okay.
What are you feeling today?
I'm feeling a little like whatever that
Yeah.
evoked in your emotion palette. Do I have words today? Am I human? It's been a great week, y'all. It's been a great week. Okay, so
we're here though. We're here and we're doing this thing.
It's a Monday. I got no right saying it's been a week. People have real problems. And I'm over here having a stroke. It's totally fine. Okay.
I would consider a stroke a real problem.
Yes, that is a real problem.
I think I just saw a piece of your hair fly across the camera.
It happens in my self-tapes too. Sometimes I just feel like my fucking hair is like... Is it the stress? Like, what's her name
balding?
from The Boys? Like, am I balding? I have hypothyroidism. I may as well be balding. I mean
if you are, your hair looks gorgeous.
Thank you. Hair by Fran. Yeah.
What are you feeling?
I'd like to start with facts. Trivia, quote unquote, facts, because these are taken from IMDb trivia. These could possibly not be correct, but we found them. They seem fun, so we're going with that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Duffman's first appearance.
I noted that too, and I can't believe that it took them 9 seasons to introduce Duffman.
Yeah. 9 seasons. And I gotta say, so I was doing some research the other night, and I watched a later season. I think it's season 34. I just kind of let it
Jesus
run,
Christ. Yeah.
Um, Duffman has his own episode about his estranged daughter.
Wait, I think I remember this episode.
And it was actually kind of interesting. I was like, "Oh, Duffman, you you got some depth there. You got a little through line." But I don't
Yeah.
know, it was kind of fun. I didn't mind it. It wasn't horrible, it wasn't the best, but
Yeah.
it was pretty good,
I
you know?
like Duffman. He's just like a very random character that'll just show up, kind of like Dr. Nick, where it's like when you see them, you're like, hee! And
Yeah,
like that's all they really give to the episode, but it's a really nice cherry on top of the episode.
it really is. So that is one of my fun
Yes,
facts.
hit me with more.
Due to the prominence of the World Trade Center in the plot, the episode was removed from syndication after the September 11th attacks. By 2006, the episode had come back into syndication in some areas. However, parts of the episode were often edited out,
Mhm.
mainly when it cuts to any exterior shot of the towers. Is now not shown. One previously edited item was a scene of two men arguing across Tower 1 and 2, where a man from Tower 2 claims they stick all the jerks in Tower 1. Bill Oakley commented in retrospect that that line was regrettable. In 2019, a hand drawn cell from the episode depicting the two towers was given to the National September 11th Memorial and Museum, and what the curator termed a hilarious and tender donation. Although this episode is no longer banned on a lot of syndication networks, it is still perhaps the most rarely played episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta say, like, I did notice that because you notice that a lot of films prior to the attack had edited out or cut scenes that even referenced
Mhm.
the Twin Towers. And it's kind of sad because, I mean, it's just a part of history now, you
Yeah.
know? It lives in our memories. We never forget.
Mhm.
I do think it's really sweet that they gave a cell from the episode to the Memorial Museum. I think that's super sweet. And I actually want to take a little field trip to go see it.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that'd be really cool.
I've only been to New York once and I didn't actually go see the World Trade Center Memorial. And I don't know why. I could have easily. I think I ended up seeing Alexander Hamilton's grave instead.
Ooh. Equally cool sight, though. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was very weird that it was like this very small cemetery in the middle of like New York City.
oh,
And it
it's
just like
interesting.
Hamilton's there and I want to say Eliza's there too and I think some other person's there. But it's just very old cemetery.
Yeah.
I think I think saying that that line is regrettable, is that what he said, Bill Oakley?
Yes, he said the line was regrettable.
I want to just yes, after 2001 that line seems very insensitive. This was written in 1997.
Yeah.
He would have had no knowledge that any of this was going to happen. And so to like regret writing something years before something horrible happened, I think is putting a lot of that negativity on himself and I don't think that he should do that.
I agree that. Give yourself some grace. You didn't know. You made a wonderful donation.
Mhm.
And again, a little bit of like satirical history that'll probably be
Yeah.
forgotten, honestly,
Yeah.
because we try to just cover it up now or forget,
Yeah.
even though the whole point of never forget is,
Is to
I
never
mean,
forget. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something that is definitely either hard to talk about or we've talked about it so much because it happened in our very young lifetime when we were just babes.
Where
Um
were you? Do you remember?
where were you when they built the
Where
ladder
are
to heaven?
you? Okay,
We're
official
singing two
millennial
very
podcast.
different songs.
Had to though. It
I
was
was
a call of the void, whatever you call it.
the void called out to me.
Yeah.
Uh, um, I I was in fifth grade, and class had like just started, but like we weren't actually going to our next. Like we were all in like the homeroom, I guess, and everyone just got shoveled into one homeroom. and nobody was telling us anything, and people were on the phone, like all the teachers were on the phone, and nobody said anything, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we're putting you back on buses to go home, and we were like, okay, like nobody said anything about what was going on. And then we get home, and this is this is going to be both horrible to say out loud, but also uh very accurate as to who I was and currently who I am and doing this podcast. My parents were home, and I was like, "Oh, what are you guys doing home?" And they were like, "Did anybody tell you what was going on?" I'm like, "No." My mom's like, "Planes hit the World Trade Center in New York," and they were watching the news, and I remember seeing the visuals of like the tower smoking, and I just went, "Okay, I'm gonna go upstairs and watch cartoons." Like I had nobody was telling me what was going on. I didn't know what the World Trade Center was. I was like, okay, that sounds like a lot of grown up stuff. So I'm gonna go do things that like make me feel good, I guess, because everyone's in a really bad mood today. And that's what
Mhm.
I did. Where were you, Janice?
Oh, where was I? Well, uh, I was in the fourth grade. I have a September birthday, so we're a school year apart in that.
Oh,
So I was in fourth grade, and I was, just waiting for school to start, and not many people were there. And I was like, "Where is everybody?" And someone was like, "Wow, did you hear what happened?" And we watched it on the news, and I was like, "No, what's going on?" I had no idea what was going on. They're like, "Oh, a plane like attacked the U.S. We're at war." And I was like, "What the hell?" I mean, we're in
whoa.
fourth grade, right? So people are just speculate, like,
Yeah.
kids' imaginations. So we get into school, and there's an announcement. I don't remember a word of that announcement. I just remember being in art class and having a moment of silence. Like we
Mm,
literally just sat down and with the lights off and just stared like at our desks. And I was like, what the heck is going on?
dude.
Um, Nobody really like said anything at school except for, maybe that was the announcement. I just kind of like, I don't know, I guess I just disassociated through it all.
Mm,
But when I got home, my parents like watched it on the news because there were people pulling kids out of school too, but
yeah.
they were like, the safest place for you is at school right now. So like there was parents arguing, and there was like, it was just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people didn't show up for school that day. A lot of teachers didn't show up either that day for school.
Yeah.
So we were like kind of combined in some classes. It was very strange. But yeah, I got home, and we watched it on the news. When I got home, I remember that reporter uh, with like the pink jacket.
Mm.
You know what I'm talking about? She was like running away. She was like, right behind me is the.
I want to say vaguely, but I find it so interesting that we both have like very like descriptive visuals seared into our brain.
Oh yeah, oh
And
yeah,
I think that's super interesting. I don't exactly remember who you're talking about, but like vaguely. But keep going, keep going.
yeah. We watched it on the news, and I mean, I gotta say, I've had a very interesting childhood. Like, it's not normal, and I realize that. Uh, but I watched the Terminator movies growing up, Planet of the Apes, like all these post-apocalyptic. I'm kind of like, I had such a dark humor as a child. I was like, the world is ending. We're all gonna die. And like that was like the joke of the family always.
Mm-hmm.
But I said it this time because I saw that, and they're like, no, this is pretty bad. And I was like, oh, are we okay though? And they're like, no, no, we're okay, I think, but like this isn't a time for that. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm.
It was just it's very grounding, very just like
Yeah.
I've
I
never really seen my parents be that serious before.
mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, okay.
That's really nice though that your parents were never really that serious. So when they were, you're like, "Oh, this is for real." Like
Oh yeah.
and it yeah, I that's really nice, especially for a kid of the 2000s. Um my parents would just fight all the time, and so I'm always anytime they were in a room together, I'm like, would rather not be here because I don't want to just be around fighting. So I'm like, cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other fun facts?
Um Fun?
Or just facts?
Uh you know what? I don't really have any other facts in this episode.
I have one that you didn't mention.
Ooh.
And it's something that you sort of hit on during your synopsis. And I'm so excited to share it with you. Okay, so the celebrity on trial in the Broadway musical Kicking It that Marge and the kids go see is based on Robert Downey Jr. which is based both on his character Julian in Less Than Zero and on the actor himself.
Wow.
You were
Okay.
so
I was so
close.
close.
I
Yeah, because
know.
I was like Charlie Sheen. It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's a Simpsons cartoon, so it's hard to tell. Like there are
Yeah.
certain distinct celebrities where you can tell that's who they're doing, but like,
Mm-hmm.
oh god, I was close.
I know, you're so close. You said that, I was like,
Yeah,
that's my only other fun fact though that you hadn't mentioned because there just really weren't a lot for this episode.
I mean, and I'm not a New Yorker, so like
Yeah.
I would love to hear a New Yorker's take on all of these jokes. Like I know the Mad Magazine bit was like, pretty iconic because Mad Magazine was like the SNL back in the day before it
Mm-hmm.
really, well, SNL has always been big, but Mad Magazine was like huge,
Yeah,
like
it,
huge.
and like Mad TV it's like this like SNL's counterpart for a while.
Miss Mad TV.
I
That was
know.
fun.
I know.
Stewie, the Stewie bits. I mean, come on.
We love Stuart.
Stewart.
Stuart.
Stop it. I don't wanna. If you're non millennial, go look this up. It's
Go look it up now.
I feel like Gen Z and younger would get a kick out of this with their humor today. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like they would eat just like they would just love Stewie. They would just love Stewie.
I love that this is very much like a millennial centered episode.
Oh yeah.
Or like how we're talking
They-
about it, like we just can't not bring up anything millennial. It's really
Oh
hard.
yeah. I mean, this was such like a huge part of our childhood,
Yeah.
and like it really shaped the way that our country, our I don't know, our society kind of like it just
Yeah.
really shaped a lot of things in our culture.
It was all downhill from there.
It was all downhill from there. That is correct. Alyssa,
Hmm.
tell us about your favorite moments, your favorite one-liners. What gave you the ha-has, the ho-hos, the hee-hees?
Well, specifically the hee-hees. Uh, Mo's almost immediately first line is 91% of all traffic accidents are caused by you six guys. I am so proud of Barney for sitting through that entire night and not drinking a drop of alcohol. Yes, he went on a 2-month bender. We're not going to talk about that, but he
No.
sat there while all of his friends were getting wasted. Duffman comes in with a huge keg just for him, and he says, "No, I'm the designated driver." And he drove them all home, and I was so proud, but I was very confused as to why he was drawn as or like appeared as drunk Barney and not sober Barney because those are very two different people.
I feel like I can chime in on this. What are these
I
balloons?
don't know.
If you're listening, we're on Riverside and there's these lovely balloons that just popped up.
I did a peace sign. Is that it?
Is that it? Oh, that's so cute. Okay, that's fun. What happens if you do something like this? Like, do we get a high five or like I don't know what
Rock and roll.
peace? What if I do it?
Do
Oh,
it,
it's not
Janice.
doing
Do
it
it.
for me. Lame,
That's dumb.
lame. But yes, I feel like I could speak maybe a little bit to this because you don't get sober overnight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he wouldn't completely change into sober Barney in one night.
Okay. I just know
Plus,
that
he probably did some day drinking there
that's
and cut himself off,
That's valid. He did come out of Mo's bathroom with like he was getting ready for the night or like
Yeah.
the day, like his day. So that's pretty fair.
But I agree with you. Like, good on you, Barney. You did your due diligence. Like, you stuck it out. You
Mm-hmm.
did it, and we talk a lot about Barney, just loving him and loving him sober,
Mm-hmm.
and to see him have the strength for even one night is such a win for him.
Yes.
And I just cheer every sober night as a win for Barney.
Yes.
He deserves the best.
He does. Ugh. I love that man.
Yeah, the good heart.
Ah! Okay.
Yes.
What else? Okay. Homer's impression of New York is the impression that everyone gets when they watch Fox News for Chicago specifically because we live in Chicago. And that's all I could think about was my parents being like, people get murdered and stabbed all the time. And I'm like, you guys are watching Fox. I'm not trying to make these things pop up. It's just happening.
It is. You know what? Just let it happen. It's
Fine.
it's saying good job. Good point though.
Wow, good
It
job.
it is a good point. But I want you to finish the thought and then I'm going to jump in.
Yes. Because my parents, we did not live far from Chicago, but it could have been states away. And my parents were like, don't ever go to Chicago. You're going to get stabbed. You're going to get robbed. You're going to get shot. I've lived in Chicago now for 10 years, and none of those things have happened to me. And it's not very common that those things happen here at all. But Fox News, that's all they talk about is when bad things happen. And that's how I feel Homer was walking through New York, remembering all the bad things that happen. And so that's all he can see.
Mhm. It's so funny that you say that. Cuz you're totally spot on. I mean, I feel like even my sister, who's a suburbanite, is just so afraid of the city because, again, she sees, the bad stuff happening, and
Mhm.
she has this perception of a big city being like so dangerous and not like, how do you live there? And it's so seedy, and it's like, no, it's a wonderful place. You
Yeah.
just, uh,
Yeah. The media, ugh, the media. The media just paints it in a bad light because that's how they get views. If they only ever talked about good things that were happening, people wouldn't watch as much. But they always have to mention the bad stuff that goes on because, that's what people want to see because that's for some reason what the media has been cheered on for, and so they keep doing it.
you know what I was shocked about?
Hmm.
But also, it makes sense though. They didn't show all the trash in the street at night. Because that's a
Ooh,
huge culture shock coming to New York, is seeing all the trash in the street at night. I mean, it's overwhelming. Like, it's very, very
I
overwhelming.
do remember that.
It's disgusting. It smells horrible, but it just, they're not there long enough. They take literally a cute little day trip, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. So they're there from like 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So they don't see like the trash and stuff in the streets and whatnot. Because that was something, my first time in New York, huge shock. Huge shock. I was just like, what are we doing? Like, do we not have dumpsters? Do we not put things in alleys? Like,
Alleys.
what is this?
That's a Chicago thing. You
I guess it
silly.
is. And I was just like, so we're just gonna put it in the street then? Okay. All right.
I remember noticing it and being like, "Oh, okay," and like just kept like walking by. To be fair, I was also starving and like on the lookout. Like I was like tunnel visioning, finding a pizza shop, and so I was just like, "Well, there's a lot of trash on the street. Whatever, pizza."
Pizza. Do you remember the pizza?
I remember it. I don't remember where it was. I do remember that it had a B rating. And I just got like a slice of pepperoni and it was huge, like bigger than the size of my head, and it was amazing. And I don't think it was just because I was starving. I think it was just because it was really, really good pizza.
Well, I'm sure if you ask a New Yorker, they'll tell you where it is and then tell you it's trash and give you 5 more recommendations.
And I will go to all of them and they'll all probably be amazing because I am for all kinds of pizza. I don't discriminate.
I love that. A tour to pizza.
I don't order pizza.
That would
Uh,
be nice.
if
A
you're
tour
from
to
New York,
pizza.
hit us with your favorite pizza recommendations in our comment section.
Yeah, I think we got a field trip made for us right here. We got to go to the
Amazing.
Memorial Museum
Yes.
and see the donation picture and of
Pizza.
course pay respects. Pizza. Pizza everywhere.
Pizza everywhere. I had some other stuff in here. Let me see. Bart panhandling on the subway. If you've ever ridden the subway, the L, any type of public transportation that is like in a train form specifically, there are people that will panhandle, and I think Bart's impression of it was so spot on because it's not like someone walking around and be like, "Do you have any change? Do you have any change?" It's somebody that walks into a car and monologues a story at you to kind of like make you feel bad for them.
Hmm.
And I thought that that was the way that they made Bart do it was 100% spot on. That it was awful, but also
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh yeah.
What about you? What do you got?
Let's see. Okay. Some of my favorite one-liners are, "You can't judge a place you've never been to. Yeah, they do that in Russia." I just thought it was fun. Marge, when she's looking at the shoes, she's like, "Yeah, if I only didn't have a pair of shoes."
She's such a Midwestern woman.
To her core. And I love that they try to convince us that they don't know which Springfield it is.
Okay,
But I'm
sure.
like, we know it's
We
Illinois.
know.
We know it's Illinois. And because they like to give you, like, they like to throw you off, you know? They're like, oh, they took the bus through Atlanta and transferred twice or something. I was like, no, you don't. You're from Illinois. Anywho, though, uh, yeah, I thought it was interesting that there was no chalkboard gag. Okay, so my grandfather, sidebar, my grandfather is a huge racehorse fanatic. We took a trip together, me and my 88 at the time year old grandfather. We went to Saratoga Springs to see the racetrack and everything, and we actually went to the racetrack museum with all the famous jockeys and where like the Secretariat statue is and everything. And I just thought that was really cute that the horse's name was Secretariat. It's also mentioned like Bojack and stuff. You know, it's a really really famous racehorse, uh, incredibly famous. And I like any homage to that, and it always reminds me of my grandpa. And I just
Hmm.
tugs on the heartstrings.
Aw,
Just love him so
that's
much.
so cute. Your grandpa's such a cutie.
Yeah, he's adorable.
Very demure, very mindful.
Very yes, very mindful, very demure. I thought the line about the I liked the exchange of them being able to like talk to each other in the towers. I just
Mm-hmm.
thought that was a really funny exchange. Even if, Bill Oakley didn't like what he wrote after, I still enjoyed that they could like actually talk to each other in the
Mm-hmm.
cartoon, so that was fun.
The idea that you could just hang a clothing line between the two towers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, I would be such good friends with the people in the next tower and be like, hey,
Oh
like
my
writing
god.
notes, and because they're so close, you
Chucking
know?
up. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think they were that close, were they?
I thought they were pretty close. Like
Like
in that
close enough.
plaza.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go, and we'll get a measuring tape, and we'll measure
Yes,
that shit.
yes, add it to the field trip itinerary. Love it. Love little pen click. Okay, Alyssa,
Yeah.
do you feel like this episode is rated correctly? Do you think it should be higher? Do you think it should be lower?
It's an interesting question because of everything that has happened in our time and the country and since this episode aired. I would put it lower than a 9. And I think just because watching it now does sort of give me like it is slightly uncomfortable because of all the 9/11 stuff.
Mm.
Um but that being said, I probably wouldn't go lower than an 8.8, and it's currently at a 9. So like somewhere between an 8.8 and like a 9, I would say is probably good for me. I also was not a huge fan of I like just watched this like 20 minutes ago.
I did too.
I was like, it helps me to remember if I watch it like right before we do this.
Yep.
And here I
Yep.
am forgetting. I just think that the Fox News of it all, I guess, also like I didn't like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that, you know, this episode seemed to be like someone said it recently that TV is written for middle America. And I think
Mm.
that this episode really holds true to that notion because of the negativity that Homer sees in New York being a big city because he had a terrible experience his first time there. Um, and I was like, well, that's not really true. And I feel like that just kind of, placates into the idea that all big cities are horrible because of XYZ. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. What do you think? I'm curious to hear what you feel about this.
Yeah, I feel like it deserves to be where it is. I feel like it's a pretty iconic episode, especially with the the boot rolling around. I mean,
Mm.
that's just an image that is ingrained in my mind, and I'm like, what episode was that? You know? Because of course I relate everything to The Simpsons.
Of course.
And living on a busy street in Chicago, you see many a boots on the side,
Mm-hmm.
sadly, on the street over there. So I feel like this deserves to be where it's at. I would say a 9 is a good rating for it. I wouldn't put it higher. If I were to go lower, I would say probably 8.9, but I wouldn't put it anything below that.
Mm.
And I feel like it's very relatable for city and non-city people for the reason that you mentioned. Like,
Okay.
it does have a very negative view for Homer's perspective on city life, but I feel like so many people share that, especially people
Mm-hmm.
who are from small towns or from the suburbs,
Yeah.
who haven't had as much exposure to the city as someone who lives in it.
Yeah, I guess it also is very much based on your own interpretation of it because while Homer's been there and had a horrible time, Marge has never been there and she had the most wonderful experience. And I think it's just how you take in these new spaces and places, and
Hmm.
that makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna up mine to like a solid 8.9 then because of that.
Yeah, good for you.
Thank you for making me think about that.
Yeah. Um, Plus I just God, I know there's so many lovely people in my life who I absolutely fucking adore, but they are so narrow-minded
Yeah.
when it comes to a big city, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
and
intimidating for people that
it's
have
very
never been there.
intimidating for people who don't lock their doors at night in their
Oh my
hometown.
god.
Like,
Yeah.
I totally understand. You do have to be a little bit more aware on edge. There are some shady places in cities, and notably shady places, and notably safer places,
Mhm.
and of course around any kind of big sites you want to keep your head on a swivel,
Oh
but
yeah.
you don't have to be scared all the time. You got to
Yeah.
experience new things and live life.
Yeah. YOLO.
Exactly, live your life.
That's gonna be the last millennial thing I say on this episode.
It's been a very millennial episode, which I don't mind, but I mean I'm a millennial, so
What? I'm just kidding.
what?
What? All
How
right.
dare you?
Janice, let's move on to our flop, shall we?
Oh, wah. Yeah,
All right.
let's move on.
As a reminder, The Flop is the greatest story ever dode. Season 21, episode 16, rated at a 5.7. Janice, give us a synopsis as to why this was a 5.7.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep this kind of short, and a little disclaimer: anything Sasha Baron Cohen, love them to death.
Yes.
Such a wonderful human being, but you gotta take what they assign themselves to with as little seriousness as possible.
The biggest tablet of salt.
The biggest. And I was speaking to somebody the other day, and we're like, yeah, we don't really like the a grain of salt anymore, that phrase,
Mm-hmm.
so we're like, proceed with mindfulness or caution,
Aw,
just proceed with mindfulness and caution when
I
you
love
see.
that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not demure, it's not, but it's proceed with mindfulness.
Yeah.
That's our little thing.
Hmm.
So, the synopses. This episode opens up with Flanders leading Bible study, but the group is distracted with Homer next door having a slip and slide party in their yard. Flanders feels compelled to invite the Simpsons to a trip to Israel to save Homer for the billionth time. After meeting their tour guide in Israel, played by Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen, they head to the old city to visit David's tomb, to the site of the Last Supper. Homer is making an absolute fool of himself in the group by disrespecting the trip, not paying attention on the tours, being very disrespectful in like the holy places, which in Israel there is a holy place everywhere you step. The the tour guide's daughter then tracks down Bart, who is disrespecting the Wailing Wall and skating through Old Town. Uh, she pulls up an alias, or like a little like chart, because if you don't know, every citizen in Israel has to serve for the army before they go on with like life. It's like, after you graduate high school, you go to the army and then you do what you want with your life. So you have to like serve. Uh so, she has her little like assignment, like FBI profile on Bart. Um and at the tomb of, I'm gonna butcher this, the sepulchre, Ned gives up on saving Homer as he asks if this is where Porky Pig is. Flanders gets mad and throws his camera to the ground, which Homer tampered with and put a bunch of photos of dumb things on it, and that is Flanders' last straw. Flanders is kicked out of the church and tells Homer he is not worth saving
Mm.
as he gets banned. Homer chases after Ned into the desert, but Ned Flanders actually went to a movie to wait out the sandstorm. Homer just thought he saw Ned go into the desert, so he followed. Homer ends up dying of thirst and drinking from the Dead Sea, which, as we know, has a very high salty concentration,
Mm-hmm.
and has visions of the Veggie Tales telling him he was chosen as the next Messiah. Homer gives a redeeming speech where we learn everyone has Jerusalem syndrome and everyone is ready to go home because they all think they're the Messiah.
Mm.
Ned's faith is restored in Homer and himself.
Aw.
The
Oh.
end.
Aw.
Alyssa, hit us with
Yeah.
those writers, directors. Who?
It's gonna be real quick
What?
and real quick and short. Director's gonna be Mike Frank Polcino. He's only ever directed The Simpsons. Writer is Kevin Coran. He's only ever written for The Simpsons and Married with Children, which I've never seen.
Married with Children. That's Kate Segal and what's his name from Modern Family?
I don't know.
The older dude.
I don't know. Honestly, all those sitcoms kind of like felt like the exact same sitcom, but with different names, and so I've just never
I mean, you're
retained
not wrong.
that information.
But yeah, well, I'm curious. When did this air?
This aired March 28th, 2010.
Okay, 2010. Is that when Borat? That's not when Borat. Borat came out when I was a freshman in high school, which I don't want to date myself, but that
I
was
date
before
you.
2010.
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah,
Yeah, so Sacha Baron Cohen was like
he's still
kind of like
hot.
big still because then he did like Borat 2 and he did some other smaller
Sweeney
things.
Todd. He was very good in Sweeney Todd.
That whole movie is just a chef's kiss. And I
freaking
know that
love
like the musical theater people are like, it's supposed to be an opera, like they didn't do it well. I think it was a good interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that it was dark and gritty.
Yes.
I could go on and on, truly. It's one of my
I love
favorite.
Timothy Spall. He is such a fantastic actor. I mean, he was in The Crown as Churchill,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Who the fuck is playing Churchill?" Because he's blowing my goddamn mind. I was like, "Oh my god, it's Timothy Spall!" Like, he is a chameleon. He is he's true British. Yeah,
Yeah.
he is the British version of Danny DeVito to me, and I just adore him. I think he's
Oh.
so freaking good.
I love that.
That's for you, Timothy Spall, the British version of Danny DeVito. I love you both. I love your work.
I love
Oh my god, Danny DeVito, I love your work. God, this could not get more millennial.
I know. It just keeps happening.
I know.
Janice, hit me with some facts that you learned about or any interesting things that you dug up.
Yeah. Okay, so I've actually been to the Wailing Wall, and
I wanted to ask you how
yes.
your experience matched or did not match the Simpsons one. I know. I feel like it's a dumb question, but I have to fucking ask because I have no idea.
Okay, so my experience was with Israel, and my visit there was for Birthright in 2015, 14? 2014, I think. Looking back on my experience, I don't think there's enough room in this podcast to talk about it. And it's not that I had like a horrible trip. Like, the trip
Mhm.
was fantastic. I got to see some incredible sights, meet incredible people from all over the country who are in like my age group or whatever. I still am friends and follow some of them. Wonderful, wonderful people, you know? Truly a great community, but at the same time, like, there was just something that I couldn't quite articulate then, which I can absolutely articulate now. But
Mm.
I have strict boundaries with this, and I only talk with this with people one on one and offline. So if you ever
Amazing.
want to talk about that experience, I'm more than happy to share my honest and candid thoughts, but I have boundaries. So
Yes. Good. I love that you have boundaries.
yes, and this is such a hard episode to talk about because like I've been to a lot of these sites and it's, you know, it's an incredible experience, especially as someone, I know we talked a hair about this before. Uh, I had a very interesting religious upbringing. I was Jewish and Catholic. My mom is Jewish, my dad is Catholic, grew up celebrating everything, so but like studied nothing, you know?
Mm.
So a lot of my Jewish education, I guess, came from this trip, came a little bit afterwards. And I don't know, it just, it was a very interesting childhood, very interesting upbringing, but girl, what was my fucking point? I do this all the time.
I personally I kind of you were saying something because you were mentioning how you had been to Israel, and I was like, I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on it. But we were initially talking about like fun facts or like different things that
Yes.
you found.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm bringing
I'm
it back.
reining you back in.
I'm bringing
It's
it
my
back.
fault. I was like, Janice, tell me all about your trauma.
I'm like, ah! Deer in the headlights. But yeah, I am more than happy to talk to anyone about my experience offline, but I do have boundaries. So, for my fun facts, let's just stick to the fun facts.
Fun facts.
Jacob, the Israeli tour guide, says, I have a slight accent. So, my fun fact is that Jacob, the Israeli tour guide, says, I have a slight accent since I come from London. Sacha Baron Cohen, who voiced Jacob, comes from London.
Mhm.
So that's just a little like boop, 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 boop. But yeah, other than that, I really don't have any other like fun facts about this. Um,
I have Bart aliases on the cell phone.
yes, I paused there during the synopsis because I wanted to give you a moment to share.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't want to spoil it, but I
You're
did
so
pause this
sweet.
time because I saw a list and I was like, Alyssa's gonna have that list. So I paused and I was like, I kind of know what she's saying.
I love random shit like that, and I will find it. I will
I love
find
the
these
last one,
answers.
but go
Yes.
ahead.
Sart Bimson, Sergeant Spitwad, Mucous Membrane, and Mommy's Special Little Guy.
Your mommy special little
Mommy's
guy.
Special
Mwah, 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 mwah.
Little Guy.
God, I love it.
Is that me?
No, that's me. That's
Oh.
Ashland.
Sometimes we get, even with all the,
I know,
uh,
right? It's like, what else can we do?
I know. Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
I do have something else
Hit
that,
us.
yes.
Hit us with the
So
facts.
this episode was rated the lowest in the 50 worst episodes of The Simpson on nohomers.net, I think, if that's correct.
What is nohomers.net?
Yes.
This sounds like an E-Bomb spin-off page.
Yeah, so nohomers.net is the No Homers Club. Welcome to the No Homers Club, devoted for over 2 decades to the discussion of the world's funniest animated family, The Simpsons. So it's just like what we're doing right now, but it's a website. Um,
Do you
but
think they'll have all the musical numbers back to back?
one can only hope. One can only hope.
Maybe they could put it together for those animators
They
and
should.
writers.
But they had put out a poll, and it was rated the worst episode of the 50 worst episodes that they had put on there.
Dang.
Yes, and it has been said that, oh, I'm on the wrong one. No, yes. It has been said that not even Sacha Baron Cohen's guest appearance on this episode could save it.
No.
No.
It just, like, it literally, when I saw Sacha Baron Cohen on it, I was like, okay, approach with caution,
Mm-hmm.
you know? It could be possibly very offensive,
In my
even
head,
if it is satirical, but
the whole time I'm like, oh, King Julian. And that's just where I went with it the whole time.
love it.
I was like, oh, King Julian's here.
Love it.
Do you have any like one-liners that you liked? Is there any like, I don't know, things that you noticed during the episode that you actually liked?
I thought it was kind of funny because I have been to a few of these sites before, and I thought it was really funny how Bart was taking like notes out of the Wailing Wall.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know much about the Wailing Wall, it is first of all, it is very sexist. Okay, the men have an entire like it's 3 times the size as the lady section. And David's tomb is the same, where like you can go into like parts of like the like the areas and whatnot, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
men's and a women's section. There's so many notes shoved in that wall, and they're prayers, you know. But I also thought it was a little funny how he was taking them out because the wall is like they don't take old notes out of the wall because there's so many notes shoved into the wall that if you try to do that, it could crumble the structure.
Oh my
So
god.
I'm surprised that the whole thing just didn't try to like fall or like, come out because he was taking notes out of the wall. But
Can you imagine just an entire wall being held up by pieces of paper? That's insane.
yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
Um, I was a little shocked they didn't mention shawarma. Shawarma is a huge thing
I did mention
over
falafel.
there. A lot of falafel, uh, Italian ice. I was like, what's with the Italian ice? But they don't do dairy after lunch or dinner or
Mm,
something. I'm a bad Jew. I don't know. I don't really keep up on all the rules. I do what I want.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't have much in
That's
terms
fair.
of fun stuff.
I had no idea that Jerusalem syndrome was a real thing. I had to look it up.
Oh yeah, everyone thinks of the Messiah afterwards.
I had no idea. I was like, that seems really silly. And I looked up. I was like, oh, that's a real thing that happens to people.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know how I feel about that. It's weird, but I guess if you're uber religious and you want it badly enough, you could believe anything.
Yeah,
And
I could see that.
I'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. Oh, the other thing I have in here is I love seeing Bart getting beaten the shit out of by a girl, and
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. And then I just wrote LOL the Veggie Tales guys.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny.
I was not expecting it, so when they came down, I was just like, "Oh, goody!" Not that I've ever seen the Veggie Tales, but I do know of them, and that was funny. I'm a bad Christian Catholic. I don't even know what I was growing up. I'm none of them now, but like I was a bad then.
Yeah, I am not qualified to speak on religion at all. Like, I think that should be a disclaimer at the beginning. I
No,
am not qualified whatsoever to be speaking about religion.
me either. And for some reason, the worst rated episodes tend to be religion based.
I know. Why are we always put here, Alyssa?
You
Why do we
know,
do this to
I
ourselves?
know. I was gonna say I think we did it to ourselves, but
We totally did.
we're not the ones rating these episodes the way that they are. Okay, we're just we're just commenting on them.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So, do you think out of 5.7 that this episode deserves that rating?
Yeah.
Mm,
Maybe a little bit lower. I think our lowest rated episode is like 4.
yeah,
I don't think this deserves to be as high as it is.
I'm there. I
5.7?
know. I'm there with you. I'm like maybe a 5.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like 5, 5.3, 5.2. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just going based off of like I mean, it was very like and I think this was the direction, right? Sasha's take on the Israeli tour guide.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I don't know. It was I feel like maybe he was directed too far into the wrong direction where it was leaning more offensive than borderline in that gray area. I felt like
Mm,
it was too far over the fence,
yeah.
you know? Because usually they do a pretty good job of like teetering that gray line, but
Yeah.
like you said, even Sasha couldn't fix it. I
Yeah.
mean, I
The,
think it was just poor writing on this part and
yeah.
very stereotypical, very
That's the thing that
bad.
bothered me the most is how stereotypical this entire episode was and
Yeah.
unnecessarily so.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, they were doing it to two and a half religions, mostly Catholic, Christian, and then Judaism, but then, like, also Muslims. They would throw stuff in there, and it was so unnecessary to, like, ugh, I don't know. I just, the whole episode, I was just, like, not into it, really.
And there was no mention of Palestine in
No.
this episode either.
Mm-mm.
I
Mm-mm.
mean,
Like, if you're gonna do an episode that is based in one of the most religiously sought after land in the world, like, you have to do it well, and this was not done well.
no, not at all. It didn't even mention the conflict either. And like,
Mm-hmm.
it was bad taste.
Yep.
It was bad taste. And especially with like things going on right now,
Yeah.
how intensified things are right now, like very, very bad taste. I would eliminate this episode. Like to I really would. I would possibly eliminate this from air
Ooh.
because
Ooh.
we talk about like eliminating the Twin Towers from episodes.
Yeah. Why not
This
this
was a
one?
really good pairing, Alyssa, to put these two together. Like,
Yeah.
because if we're talking about like having the Twin Towers removed from syndication from an episode or
Mm-hmm.
from the air, and that, or even from like other movies and stuff too, why are we not addressing this? I mean, I feel like this is just as poor taste, if not worse, than showing the Twin Towers.
I do too. And I think if I
And I'm
have
not
to,
equating the two, but
no,
at all.
I
But
think that the only thing I can surmise that is actually very different between the two is that one happened on U.S. land and the other one is not a part of the U.S. at all. And I think because of that, the people, Fox, whoever's running the company and like who decides who pulls stuff, they aren't really looking at this episode and thinking, oh, well, it's a, really right now is a huge deal, but it's always been a big deal. But it's not something that affected everyone in the United States like 9/11 did. It does right now affect a lot of fucking people, but whoever the higher ups that are working there don't see the similarities, I guess.
yeah, and not only the similarities, but I feel like, and this borderlines like politics and whatnot too.
Hmm.
Like ugh, we're getting all of it, religion, politics. This is supposed to be fun,
Fun. One day we'll have fun. Give me.
right? But the U.S. is so deep in their investment
Mm-hmm.
in Israel, and I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that. That I can see why this hasn't been taken off, but you got to be self-aware. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, this is very poor taste,
Yeah. I think you're.
especially today.
I
I
think you're
would,
right. I would
I,
remove it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd nix it for
Yeah.
sure.
That's the smart thing to do. I think truly. Hopefully somebody hears this and goes, you know what? Yeah, let's take it. Let's take it off of Disney Plus for a minute
Yeah,
because it's not good enough to stay on it.
it really isn't.
Like, it's not even a
And
good episode. Might as well just.
and I don't want to be like cherry picking things, and be like, oh, we shouldn't have this episode up because of this and this. Like, we could get really deep in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of borderline offensive things that probably
Yes.
should be taken down, like from Simpsons episodes, but like this in particular, I
Mm-hmm.
feel pretty prominently about. Like, we talk a lot about the Boys a Bummer, which is a flop episode from our first podcast episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still would keep Boys a Bummer over keeping this on air,
I would too.
you know?
I would even say that that one deserves to be higher than this one. I think it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it
like,
is.
but like, yeah, that one's definitely a better flop in terms of like how good it is than this one.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Damn
Ugh.
it.
Let's talk about next week's episode.
Yes.
So next week we are going to be talking about our top season 8 episode 10, The Springfield Files. And oh my god, I just remembered this episode and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Then our flop is season 23 episode 12, Mo Goes from Rags to Riches. And I also remember that episode, which is very weird. I don't remember these episodes very often just by their name. So I'm very excited for next week.
Great. I love I I'm very excited to talk about next week. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
But it'll be a fun episode. It'll be a good one. No politics, no religion.
Yes, yes. That's not what this podcast is about.
No, it's not. Sometimes things get a little heated though, and we're just telling it like it is.
Exactly. Exactly. We have very strong opinions, but we also have boundaries and we have jobs and we have lives that we would like to keep.
Yes.
So we're not going to spill our tea on a podcast, but we are happy to have those meaningful one-on-one discussions with the ones we love and the ones we respect because we know we could always grow from those conversations. So,
what a great way to end this podcast. Thank you, Janice.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's important, right? Like we have to be able to disagree about things and still say I love you and have beers together and take, care of each other's pets and like blah blah blah, and like live our lives,
Yeah.
Like we have to be able to respectfully argue and disagree or agree or just converse, I feel like we're just so scared of offending people or we're so scared of being wrong. It's like just I don't know, just fucking try. Like just fucking try. Risk being risk feeling stupid and learn something as opposed to hiding yourself and not having a voice or an opinion.
Yes.
So that's how I feel on that.
Speak your truth.
Not that anyone has.
No, but speak your truth and be open to change. Like that's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So we are very excited for next week's episode. We can't wait to see you. We hope you tune in. Our brackets are up on Instagram. Please go fill them out. Please tell us your favorite tops, your favorite flops. Can't wait to see what you vote for.
Yes, I am so excited for these episodes as well. I cannot wait to dig into them next week. No spoilers. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to try to keep it contained until then. But please vote for your favorite tops and your favorite flops. We'll have those polls every other week up on our Instagram. Feel free to go back and vote on some if you missed them. Hit the follow, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, whatever else we're on.
Who knows?
Who knows? We post memes, we post jokes, we do content on our Instagram and whatnot and keep you updated. And we'll have our first couple of polls that should be completed soon. So our bracket should be moving.
Ooh,
and that is so exciting.
That is so exciting. More people need to vote, though, for real.
Yes. Agreed.
I want more opinions.
Yes. Yes. More opinions, please. So yes, please vote. Let us know in the comments how you feel about the episodes, the writers, the directors, the animators. Tell us what you think, because we would love to have you in the room. But we can't have everyone in the room, so hit up those comments.
Yeah. All right, well, we will see you all again next week, hopefully.
Yes. Smell you later.